Be under no illusion, this election is between us and them. Yes, folks, hot on the heels of all the drama and excitement of the American election cycle, looks like we're going to have our own election cycle here, with an election having been called in Ireland on the 29th of November. Now, just before I get into the meat and drink of all this and what it might possibly mean for you and I and the country at large, make sure you're subscribed. Every now and again it seems to me that I hit a nerve on this channel. I make a video and I seem to just hit a nerve somewhere, and all of a sudden my channel gets throttled. Now, if I was a conspiracy-minded person, which of course, as you well know, I am not, I might think that somebody somewhere in a position of power or in the halls of power doesn't like a video I make and a phone call gets made to Google HQ in Dublin, which owns YouTube here, basically saying, listen, we'd rather this lad didn't have as much reach as he does. He's saying all the wrong things, and people are not only listening to him, a lot of them are agreeing with him. We can't really have that. And then somebody in Google HQ says, no problemo, we'll just turn down the volume on that channel, we'll just suffocate that channel, we'll just make a few subscribers disappear, and we just won't notify people who want to be notified of his next video. How do you like them apples? And the people in power say, that's great. Can we ban him? And Google says, well, we don't really have enough ammo for that yet, but we're working on it. Now, as I said, if I was a conspiracy-minded person, I might think that, because I see a lot of the metrics change, sometimes after a particularly spicy video, and I get a lot of comments from people saying, oh, I seem to have been unsubscribed to your channel by some manner or means. Don't know how it happened. Or other people tell me I don't get notified of your videos now, even though I wanted to be. Now, I'm going to say it's all an unfortunate accident, because otherwise I'd be a conspiracy theorist, wouldn't I? So make sure you are subscribed to get the truth, because we're building a community here of like-minded people who believe in the truth and common sense, and who don't like the fact that the world is going down the drain, and who still value honesty and the real news getting out to the public, which is how it should be. Now on with the show. Ireland's going to the polls on the 29th of November. Now, if you've watched my channel for any length of time, you'll know my views on the Irish political landscape. My view is quite simply this. The current political landscape is a charade. It's theatre. It's performative art. We have a range of political parties, and they're all the same. It's designed, the whole system, so that nothing can actually change, that the status quo will be maintained no matter who you vote for. That's my opinion. It could possibly be your opinion. That's the way I see it. We have a range of parties to make people who are asleep think they have a choice. They don't. It doesn't matter which of the rainbow of parties, the plethora of parties you vote for, they're all the same. They're essentially different shades of the same party. And the reasons we have such ineffectual, weak, flaccid, impotent leaders, such as Simon the T-Boy Harris and tampon head Micheál Martin, is because the people who really pull the strings, yes, the people upstairs, if you like, the people in Brussels, the EU, the people in the big global corporations, the people in the NGOs, the people who really pull the strings, well, they want ineffectual middle managers to be in positions of power, because they're easily swayed, they're easily convinced, they're easily cuckolded into doing whatever these real power brokers want. And it's got nothing to do with the public at large. You know that as well as I do. That's why they prop up and they push up and they propel up weak-minded people, spineless people, people who have no vision, people who have no ideas. They're just operatives. They're middle managers, people who should be managing the tinned food aisle in a super value store. That's the level of people that they want at the top, because they can manipulate those people easily. Those people can be just bowled over and made to do whatever the people with the real power want them to do. And that's what we have. But in order to make that scheme, and it is a scheme, work, you have to convince the public at large, the voting public at large, that they have a functioning democracy, that they're voting for change, and you can swap people out that you don't like and put in other people and they'll make a difference. That's an illusion. It's not real. That's not the case. How else can you possibly explain to me how, with over 70 to 80% of the public in every opinion poll that's been done the last couple of years, desperately crying out for an end to the immigration debacle, how can you explain to me that every one of the main players, the main parties in Parliament, don't want to change it, refuse to change it, can't change it, won't change it, have no interest in changing it? You explain that to me and tell me how that's a democracy at work. It isn't. If it was, we would have parties in Parliament actively trying to fix that problem, and we don't. And they're so confident of this scheme they're playing and running, they're so confident that it'll roll on and people will stay asleep. Not people like you and I, because we have broken out of that bubble, and that's why you're here, and that's why I'm doing this. They're so confident they can keep this show on the road that they don't even bother saying they're going to fix it. Even though the vast majority of the public have said in the loudest possible way that they can, through every opinion poll, through every comment section, that they want this change, nobody's going to give it to you. That's just one element. Now, if you can explain to me how that is not absolutely indicative of a broken system, then I don't know what to tell you. Now, I'm going to, over the next few weeks, do a few videos on the election cycle. Well, why not? It's Ireland. I know we have a lot of people from around the world who watch at the channel here and comment on the channel here, and I know that you too are interested in getting the actual news from the ground floor of what's going on here, because you won't get it in the mainstream news. You won't get it in the mainstream media. The mainstream media, as I highlighted in my last video about the Trump victory, the mainstream media is only there to craft a narrative that suits certain people and certain interests. It's nothing to do with truth. If you want truth, you've got to go to X, formerly Twitter. You've got to come to YouTube. You've got to listen to people like me, many others like me out there, also trying to bring you the truth. And that's what we need in this day and age to make any sense of the world and what's happening and why it's happening. So I will be doing a few videos as we go on into the various ins and outs of the political machinations coming up to our next election. But this is the kickoff. This is just, as Bamber Gascoigne used to say, your starter for 10. And I'm going to finish this video because I'm not going to get into the weeds here. There'll be more to come. Let me speak directly to all my fellow Irish voters. As I said at the very start of the video, this election, I believe, is between us and them. What do I mean by that? Let me explain. Us, that's you and me. That's people with common sense, people who value the truth, people who value honesty, people who value integrity, people who see politics as a vocation, not a career, not a job, not an easy number, not an easy way to get a pension. No, you're shaping the course of a nation, the course of a people. That to me is a vocation. That to me should be the preserve of people who are dedicated, people who believe, people who have the strength of character, people who are moral, people who are truthful, not the narcissists, not the shysters, not the con artists. That's unfortunately what we get. That's them. That's your main political parties. That's your career politicians who've been rattling around Parliament, the halls of power, for years, decades, multiple decades, careerists, apparatchiks. That is them. They'll appear on your mainstream TVs. They'll appear on your 6 o'clock newses. They'll appear on your radio stations and your newspapers, all full of fancy sounding ideas, great initiatives. Balderdash. They're all the same. These people are shills. These people are pissing on your back and telling you it's raining and have been for years. No, that's them. This is a battle between us, ordinary people, and that machine. That machine has no intention of changing. Doesn't matter if you vote Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, Sinn Féin, the Soc Dems, Green Party or People Before Gulags. Doesn't matter. They're all part of that machine. And that machine has to be destroyed. That machine has led us here. That machine will keep leading us into the morass, into the swamp, across the cliff. When it all crashes and burns, just like the last time with Brian Cowen's government and Micheál Martin was part of it, they'll just all quietly saunter off into the sunset with their big fat pensions, state pensions, the big fat lump sums, and pretend it never happened, or that it wasn't their fault. It wasn't really them. They were just there, but they disagree with everything. Yes, I don't want that anymore. I'm finished with that. I'm done with that. I'm done with all of that and all those people. This election has to be a pivotal moment. This election has to be when we say we're done with that. You people have no answers. And even if you had, you don't have the strength of character or conviction to carry it through. You're the wrong people and you're there for the wrong reasons. We need a clear out. I say to my fellow Irish voters, my fellow Irish men and women, and indeed anyone who has a vote in this election, find honest people, find good people, find independent people. Get outside the party system. Look at the small parties who are not part of the clique. Look at them, examine them, read their manifestos, look into it. Who's your local candidate? Have you got anybody in your locale, in your area, who's not part of the system, who's not captured, who's not bought, who's not paid for, who's not in the pocket of some NGO or global corporation? Find that person, seek them out, speak to them. If they call to your door, speak to them, talk to them as a person. And if they're a real person and they're honest, they'll talk to you, really. Anybody from the main parties, don't open the door. And if you do open the door, just open it so you can slam it in their face. These people had their chance. They've let us here. And they're all part of the same gig. Now, there'll be more on this. But like I said, let's get the ball rolling. We've got about 3 weeks to go. We're going to have to make that count. We're going to have to start trying to get some momentum. We need to craft a different parliament. We need to craft a different direction. The hour is late, my friends. It's later even than you think. We are on the brink of disappearing. Us Irish, as a unique, individualistic people in the world. We're on the brink of just being airbrushed out of history, diluted to the point where it doesn't really matter. We'll just be a footnote in the history books. And then we won't even be a footnote because, well, history is written by the victors. And we will have lost. It's not over yet. The hour is late, but we can still make a difference. And with that, stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe. There's much more to come.